Okay, this is an $11 heads up sit and go turbo. Some notes on this guy. I call a big 3-bet with queen 4 suited. It's funny. This must have been in like a $100 or $200 game. This I recall this guy. That hand looks recent, to be honest. So a little bit of history with this guy. He's gonna be calling us really light, like most players at this level. So we shouldn't expect to be able to bluff very often, and we're gonna make sure our value bets are full sized, because he's not gonna be folding very often. Okay, 8-2 here. Pretty dry board. Just go ahead and lead for 30 chips. See if we can take it down here. And we do. Two 7 suited. A little too weak by my standards. Let's go ahead and muck it. The differences between the 11s and the 6s, well, basically I don't think there really are any. The players are pretty much going to be the same. Calling light, wide ranges, very strange lines at times. It can be frustrating if you let people get to you sometimes if you're not running well. Ace-9 offsuit here, raising it for value. But pretty much if you're in the 6s, moving up to the 11s, and you've had some success, you should have the same amount of success moving up to the 11s that you had in the 6s. And the 22s, maybe a little difference, but pretty much the same. Players are not going to be very good. Okay, it's a dry board, paired board. We go ahead and bet, see if he'll just fold it out. Jack high isn't great, and he folds pretty quickly. Jack 10 offsuit. Suited, I'd probably just raise him up out of position here, but I'm just gonna fold, or I'm just gonna check. I'm sorry. We had just raised one limp of his, so Jack 10 offsuit is a little weak to begin with. Out of position this deep. It's not a bad hand, but we don't have the position. That's the main factor here. Let's go ahead and check it here. Our second pair is now the worst pair on the board. There's some draws out there. The king obviously beats us. A queen jack would beat us. I'd expect him to probably raise it on the flop. And now a 9 beats us as well. So we're just going to fold. There's not much we can really do. King 8 offsuit, strong enough on the button. Go ahead and raise it up. Eight 3 offsuit. Check that back. We flop top pair. Pretty dry board. Go ahead and bet out 30 again, just as we would probably without a hand in this situation. 10-7 offsuit. It's not the best hand in the world, but you know, we're on the button. He's folded a lot so far, so there's no reason not to raise it there. Worst case, we have a weak hand, seen a flop in position, with plenty of chips to play with, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Going to make a 200 here. I suspect he'll call with a very wide range of hands, and it's a pretty dry flop. Go ahead and bet 250. See if we can just take it down here. And he flat calls us. Dry board. Nothing but a 2 there. And the turn that pairs the board. Only draws really are ace 4, ace 5, 4 5, 4 6, that kind of thing. Maybe 5 6. Go ahead and check it here. I'm gonna have to fold if he shoves or makes any kind of bet. Well, good news is he checked, so a lot of times that's a 3 or some kind of draw. But the bad news is the river card wasn't particularly good. Hopefully he just has something like ace high, and he's just trying to get the showdown. Because hands like 4 5, 5 6, those have all hit. Ace 4, those hands are all beating us now. But we're just going to check, and there's nothing we can really do. I don't expect to be able to push him off a 3, really, if I shove there. Sometimes, yes. But I mean, a 3 isn't even totally his range either. he could have a lot of hands here, and he shoves. I imagine he has something like a straight or trip twos or better, something like that. But regardless, we can't call the shove. And it's important to realize when you need to give up a pot, when you can contest a pot, when you can turn hands into bluffs. And in that case, all we could really do, I think, is just check fold the river. Ace-Jack offsuit, 50 big blinds deep or so, a little deeper than 50. Against this player, I have no problem getting it in if he 3-bets. I have no problem shoving over the top. If he shoves here, I have no problem calling. In these low-stakes games, people are going to shove or 3-bet so weak, or they're going to call so weak when you shove over them, that Ace-Jack is plenty strong. So, we'll see what he does here. And he just calls. Okay, the board, there's some hands out there. It's a continuation bet probably here. We don't have much on this board. We should have some fold equity. He calls pretty quickly. We'll go ahead and check back the turn here if he checks, and we'll either pick off a river bluff in most cases, or we'll be able to make a nice size value bet if he checks to us a lot of times. But we fire 2 here, we're not going to be able to call a raise. And okay, so river is not a great card. The 9 now beats us. Flush draws hit. I'd expect he might even check raise, something like a flush. He has a weak king sometimes here. The only thing we're really missing value from is probably a 3 or some sort of pocket pair. Maybe like a queen jack that hit, or a jack 10, something like that. But most of the time I think we're either way ahead or way behind here. I'm just going to check. There's not too much value there in my mind. So we had the jack 10. But I don't think it was a good spot to value bet in. It would be very thin, but I'm not sure. Okay, jack 9 offsuit. It's a decent hand, but it's a lot better in position. Facing a 3 times raise here, about 45 big blinds deep or so. Well, a little less than 45, more like 43. Just gonna go ahead and fold it out of position. Okay, ace queen offsuit, good hand. Just go ahead and make it 3 times. I don't believe we have raised in this blind level yet on the button. No, I have not. We have not. It's our first button in this blind level, so I just go ahead and make it 3 times because we have a strong hand. There's no reason for him to think that we're betting any stronger pre-flop than what we normally do, because we don't really have too much history with this guy or anything. We're going to bet 120. Should be some fold equity on this flop. Again, it's not a great flop. There's a lot of draws out there, a lot of pairs. But we have overcards. We don't have much of a draw. See if we can just get a fold, and if we do get a call, maybe we can pick up some sort of pair to get some value out of. And he calls, and it's perfect that we can 2-barrel here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and bet 280 chips. If he does call us, that would leave us with about 1,000 pot on the river, and should have about 700 chips to play with or so. Personally, myself, a little over 700 chips, 770 chips there, and the pot's about 1,000. And he should call with a jack. He might call with a 7. A flush obviously beats us. I'm not that concerned about a flush right now, because less than a pot size bet. We're going for full value here. And he calls us with a 4. And that's not too uncommon at these stakes. He called 3 barrels with bottom pair, even though the board got worse. And that's something that you're going to see a lot if you play these games. And that's why players can be very profitable at these stakes. 15 big blinds deep against this guy. I'm just going to go ahead and shove it. Maybe he'll look me up light, with a weak ace or, king something. Jack 9, perfect example. And we got it in ahead for the game. And that's exactly what we're looking to do. We don't win the pot, but could be very happy with the hand he called us with. So it's nothing to worry about. Ace 3 suited here. I'm just go ahead and min raise. It's a standard size probably for me, about 30 big blinds deep. It's a pretty drawy board here. I'm gonna go ahead and check this one back. Maybe we can get to showdown. We have showdown value with our ace high, of course. He's probably gonna, yeah, he snap bets there. I'm sure he's gonna do that a lot, and we can't really do anything about it at all. Which is why I was leaning towards continuation betting those previous boards that were wet. So we're just gonna fold here. This board's probably a little wetter. A lot of stuff going on, flushes and straights. But we're just gonna give that one up. Okay, king 4 offsuit. We're just going to check that back. It's not a bad hand. Go ahead and lead this one. We probably have the best hand. King high. Paired board. So we're just going to bet. It's a value bet. And he gives us the min raise here, which puts us in a tight spot. I'm just going to muck here, to be honest. He's probably bluffing a lot here. A 10 could do this. A lot of draws could do this. We could have the ace. But let's go ahead and fold it, because we're gonna end up playing a pretty big pot, even if he is bluffing, and I'm not so certain that he is bluffing in that case. I've called with lighter there and called down, but it's not the spot I want to do that in. King 4 suited. I'm gonna min raise. He hasn't put a ton of pressure on us so far. Dry board. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna half pot it. We have a weak kicker. I think he'll look us up light here. He may even bluff us. The ace is either a really good or a really bad card. It's good because it makes our decision easy. We're just going to bet. If he was floating with an ace or something, he's going to have to continue playing the hand. He'll probably call with a queen as well. So I'm going to bet 300 chips and just get full value out of the other hands. And the ace isn't a good card. If he shoves here, we're going to have to call. I suspect I'll see an ace more often than I'd like. But considering it's less than full-size pot, we have pretty much the second best hand, and this guy's going to do this with bluffs sometimes, so I'm going to have to call, but I've probably seen an ace oftentimes here, and I do see an ace, but there's not much you can really do there. I definitely don't think we can fold there, given we haven't had a ton of history with this guy, and he's a little on the bluffy and loose side. I'm just not going to make that kind of fold here, especially an $11 game, without a little bit stronger indication. Just because I know I'll see the ace a lot of times doesn't mean I shouldn't call, because there's going to be plenty of other times when he has other hands. There's going to be plenty of times when we're chopping, we're splitting there. So even though his line is strong, I'm just going to go ahead and I play it the same way every time. Okay, king high, we have some showdown value. We're just going to check it. He bets 100 here. He had a fast check behind on the flop. Not necessarily saying he has a 2 here, but it's a sign to put his widen his range a little bit, or weight it a little more towards the 2. He checked back quick, and then he bet full pot on the turn right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and call, or go ahead and fold. We're out of position, so and he's probably gonna fire 2 barrels if he is bluffing a lot of times. We got 5s here. Let's go ahead and shove them. At this point, we're about 14 big blinds deep, a little less than 14. You can min raise there as well. Okay, we got 4s here, and he's shoving there. At this point, I'm probably just going to call him. 4s are a strong hand. You know, I think we're facing hands like ace 2, ace 3 a lot of times. You know, ace 4 to a lesser extent. We may see pocket pairs sometimes. Hopefully, if we do, they're 2s or 3s. I don't think he's gonna be doing this with a lot of his really stronger hands. So yeah, ace 7. So I mean, I think he'll do this with a hand like ace 3. You know, ace 2, and that's where a lot of our equity is gonna come from. And we chop. So you know. Pre-flop we got it in, we had a little over 50% equity, and we chopped, so that's the result that we'll get in the long run. You can't complain there. But I mean, with the chips already invested in the pot, we already had the 50 chips invested, and it's probably around 8% of our stack at that level. And our equity has to be around at least 50%, so that's a case where I think calling with the 4s is appropriate. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lead here. We should have some fold equity. There's some straight draws out there, but there's no flush draw. Go ahead and check now. One other aspect of it is that while we do have some showdown value with queen high, he isn't really letting us get the showdown very often. He may have like a pair of 8s here, and now draws like jack 10 and queen 10, things like that have hit. And oh, he had ace queen, so he's limping ace queen, and we saw him shove ace 7, and that's not out of the ordinary at all for these kind of players. You know, they just don't know how to play a hand in position, and they shove it about 13 big blinds deep, ace 7, ace 2, stuff like that. But then they go ahead and limp ace queen or aces or something. They get fancy with other hands. A little less than 6 big blinds deep, king 8 offsuit. That's a very easy standard shove. 9-4 offsuit here is going to be a fold. 7-4 offsuit is going to be a fold as well. At this point, we're playing shove or fold again. The 4s will definitely call. We're going to shove his limp. Might see a strong hand sometimes. He might just be limping crap as well. But between the fold equity and our hand value, we're just shoving the 4s definitely. 10-6 offsuit here is actually a weaker hand than you might suspect. According to the Nash equilibrium chart, we would need 570 chips in this situation here. 5.7 big blinds to shove. We're at about 8.25, so we're not going to do that. I'm not 8.25. I'm sorry. We're at 785, including the small blind. Ace 8 offsuit, definitely a call shove. We're going to shove if he does anything else. So go ahead and shove it here, and see what he does. So he had ace 5 offsuit, limp call. It's kind of a silly thing to do. You should just shove it pre-flop, but that's fine. And we win the hand, and we're back to even. So we survived a cooler in this game, and we're at even. King 4 offsuit. Go ahead and min raise. He was folding a lot earlier to our pre-flop raises. We'll see if he continues to do the same. Not a very good flop. Just going to check behind. Hopefully I can pick something up big on the turn. Like a king, maybe a queen of hearts, stuff like that. Continue on. And we do have a little bit of showdown value. So we'll wait a second, and we'll go ahead and check. And we got a 4 here. So we're going to call it a normal size bet, but that over bet there indicates strength a lot of times. Just going to go ahead and fold. Our pair of 4s is not good enough to call that kind of a bet. If you had bet 200, I'd probably call, or 100, something like that. But this kind of bet is strong usually, and I'm just going to fold. And that's okay. Pre-flop we were raising a lot for the fold equity, and when we miss a very wet flop like that, we're not going to be able to do much except for check and try to get down to showdown. Ace 6 offsuit. I'm going to min raise again here. If he comes over the top, I'm going to call him. Otherwise, I'm just going to make a continuation bet, size of 250. It's not my favorite flop. We've had a lot of these sort of flops throughout the game, and he flat calls. So if we river an ace or something, we'll be able to put in a pot size shove. Otherwise, pretty much only going to be able to fold or check here. And we're going to check. Hopefully he had some kind of draw, not a 5 or a 9. He played it like he had a 5 or a 9. He had a 9. So there's not much you can do. He called with 9-7 offsuit out of position, and more often than not, we're gonna win those hands. We have more value there with what we were raising. Go ahead and shove with king 5 offsuit. Hopefully not run into another ace like last time, but plenty of fold equity there. 7-2 offsuit. We just fold that. Weak hand. King queen suited, strong hand. Get it in there no matter what, of course. No matter if he limps, min raises, shoves, or anything in between. Ace 5 suited, 9.7. It's easy shove. And he looks us up with jack 9 offsuit. which is reasonable. It's on a hand I'd really expect him to fold with that stack size. Okay, and we win it all in. So we're up 2-1 on him. We're still about 10 big blinds, closer to 11 deep. Just gonna check king 5 here. It's pretty wet flop. Just see if we can get to showdown. And he goes, he bets 200 instantly. So we've shoved a lot of his limps, and we're a little deeper than the last few times. So I'm just gonna kind of play it safe there and just check when he limps pre-flop. King 5 is gonna be a hand that's dominated by a lot of his limp calling range. I'm gonna limp queen 5 offsuit. It's a little too weak to shove there. He shoves on me. I don't think he's going to be shoving with a terribly wide range there. I was hoping to see a flop and maybe take something down if it was dry, or get some value if I hit my queen, or maybe something involving the 5. But he shoves, so there's nothing we can really do except fold there. But it's too weak to shove there, and I'm not going to min raise at that point with queen 5. It's just not strong enough to really do that either for the post flop value. And he's been really call-y lately. He's been really loose. So we're not getting a lot of fold equity if we're min raising there. And we don't have a lot of maneuverability. You know, we're only 10, 11 big blinds deep. We're not 15 big blinds deep where we can actually, you know, continuation bet fold a lot more frequently if we have to. 5-7 offsuit. Again, just a check. Go ahead and bet 200 here. Hopefully we maximize our fold equity. There are some draws, there are some hands that hit this flop, but hopefully we fold out, you know, hands like 8-9, stuff like that, by leading for 200. And he calls. We pick up third pair. At this point, we're really just check folding. We're hoping he has a 2 or something, or maybe a draw, and he'll just check back here. I'd expect him to bet a king and maybe a jack here. Anything better than that, of course. He may be betting the draws here sometimes, but we're not strong enough to continue against the pairs in his range. So we're just going to fold there. 8-4 offsuit, we're just going to go ahead and fold. Jack 8 suited. We're going to shove this. It's a decent hand to shove here. We're not very deep. And he goes ahead and folds. I think we've been maximizing our fold equity against this guy pretty well. In certain spots, like when he's limping, I think we've made some good decisions in that regard. Game hasn't gone as quite as well as I'd hoped, but queen 5 offsuit, just go ahead and check it. We have a queen here. We'll go for a check raise all in here. He's been pretty aggressive. Could leave that for value too, so just go ahead and check shove it. I think he might call me with a 7, maybe even a 4. We saw him call light earlier. With a shove like this, a lot of players just put you on a draw, put me on 5, 6, or spades, and he'll make a very light call. You know, we'll lose to a better queen sometimes, but we also pick up those 300 chips when he's bluffing, which is nice. So 9-3 offsuit, that's a fold. King 10 offsuit here. We're going to get it in no matter what. We have the fold equity. Plus it's not a bad hand against his limp call range. It's not terrible. Queen Jack offsuit. That's an easy shove at this point. And we got a 2-1 lead just like that. You know, we picked up a few hands, and there's nothing he could really do. We're calling here when he shoves. King 7 suited is a good hand at this point. And he has ace 8, same suit. So not a good hand for us to match up against, but that's just how it goes sometimes. And he wins with the nut flush. Queen 9 offsuit is plenty strong to shove here. Go ahead and shove it. And he folds. We're going to get it in here with Queen Jack offsuit no matter what he does here. And go ahead and call his shove. Same hand. So, unless I runner here, we'll see another hand. 8-7 offsuit. We're going to go ahead and shove that hand too. And we're facing overs, suited overs, so we're not in great shape here. Yeah, he's won the hand and the game. But, you know, overall in that game, there's not too much we could have really done. See some of the hands we got into here. The ace-queen was fine. He looked us up so light there. The 6-4 was such a cooler. I mean, when you lose a 2,200 chip pot, almost 2,300 chips to a cooler, you're not very often winning that game. So I think we put ourselves in a decent position to compete here in the end game. I think we definitely outplayed him towards the end of the game. He hit some hands early. So not much else to say about that one. You can't win them all.